My name is Jordan Redfield Wade. By day, I'm a PI working for the NACPD. But by night, my friends, my family, and I fight for the city in a different way. We are the guardians of Newark City. I promised my mother as she lay dying that I would protect and defend this city from anyone that would mean to cause it harm. I am a protector. I am a guardian. I am Red Wing. Episode 4. Prisoner.
Listen. I've never looked good in orange. I look good in red, black, purple, and emerald green. That's about it. And whoever said that orange is the new black, well, that person lied. It had been about 3 weeks. 3 weeks spent mainly in isolation, looking at the bars holding me in my cell, counting the blocks of concrete that went around my whole room. I counted 328 cinder blocks around my room. I had nothing to write on for about 2 weeks. Nothing really to do except sit and try to sleep. Of course, I plotted 200 different escape routes, 109 of which involved using my powers. Only 50 of them were feasible for getting out undetected, without a trace except for the obvious part, when they came around and found that I was missing. Every single day, Dean would come and see me. I would look at him through the glass, wishing for nothing but the freedom to reach out my hand and touch him. He came in to see me every day before my trial began in earnest.
Are you nervous?
No, not really. I mean, I've got Willa Savage on the case, the best defense attorney in the entire state. She's seriously about to clown ADA Pelly. Like, I almost feel bad for whoever gets put on the stand.
Yeah, she is the best. God, Jay, I miss you. We all do. The judge denying your bail is such bullshit.
I love you all. And I miss you all. It won't be long now, though. And I agree. It was bullshit. I pose literally no flight risk. This is ridiculous. But whatever. By the way, any word from your parents?
Nothing yet. I'm a little worried.
Then why don't you just go out to that place we found? I'm almost certain they went out there to find your dad, and that's the first place you should check for clues.
I told you, I'm not going without you.
Dean, I appreciate that, but...
Jordan, I'm not leaving.
God, I love you. Okay. So, anything on the radar?
Yeah, they still aren't sure what's happening with the bank robberies, but good call on checking the high-end gaming joints. I heard from Red that the gang is going undercover tonight.
I hope that they stay safe. Those places can be... well... I've never liked them, for what it's worth. Has... you-know-who come in?
He gets in tonight. He'll be ready.
Good. Good. Also, how are the girls from the party?
They aren't in custody. They're safe. They're being housed at one of the domestic violence safe houses that the RW Collective paid for. No charges have been filed against them.
Good. Well, to be honest, how could they? There is not a single jury that could convict beyond a reasonable doubt that those girls did anything magical that would result in death. Magic sorta is the antithesis of reasonable doubt, because nothing about magic is reasonable. Rational, maybe, but the legal system just isn't really built to figure out magical crimes.
Time's up!
Shit. Well, I love you, Jay. We'll see you tomorrow.
I love you, Dean. Tell them all I missed them. And tell them I'll see them tomorrow.
Hours later, the team that wasn't behind bars were in an alley 2 blocks away from the hunting game. an upscale gambling establishment. Scarlett was applying the last bit of ruby red lipstick to her lips before leaning over to slide the garter belt that concealed a tiny bag with a couple of combat spells in it. She wore a carmine mermaid gown with a lace illusion neckline. It hugged her curves in just the right places. Joanna had just secured the tooth cap, and the microscopic earpiece carefully hidden behind her hair. She wore a silver gem on her forehead and under both eyes. She was wearing a light blue sheath dress with dark silver lace sleeves and matching detail at the bust. The dress was floor-length, had an open back and a slit up the side of the skirt that went up past the knee. Kieran was wearing a classic black suit with green pinstripes and a matching gambler hat. Dean was sitting there checking all of the devices in the van. This was, in fact, an official investigation, so the unmarked van had been loaned to them. Joanna turned around to look at Scarlett.
Babe, you're a total knockout.
Thank you, darling. You're quite the fetching lass yourself. You should dress up more often.
Aw, should I take a prom photo for Jordan?
Hardy har har, very funny. Okay, so you know how to use the tech, right?
Of course.
It makes me really nervous. What if they have a metal detector?
Are you serious? Love. Even I know this kind of establishment wouldn't have metal detectors.
Just remember that you're a high roller tonight. You're there to gamble and wear your good luck charms.
Yeah, see? Got me a couple lucky dames, see?
Dial it down, Capone. Also, call me a dame again, and you'll lose a limb.
You need to stay close to one another. Now, Scarlett, you're the only one who can use your powers while people are looking, right? Your eyes won't glow?
No, the telepathy won't make my eyes glow, so I'll be scanning the crowd for anyone with powers or anyone planning a robbery.
And I'll relay the info if I have to.
And after you find them?
We'll scope them out, see if we can ID them. If anything goes down, disengage and get back here as soon as possible. Ready?
Copy that.
I'm ready.
All right, ladies, let's party.
Kieran, Scarlett, and Joanna left the van. Dean settled himself into the seat Joanna would typically be occupying. For a second, he felt a tingle on the back of his head, as though someone had placed ice cubes on the back of his neck. He had a strange feeling about this. The trio made it past the gate and entered the gambling den. From the exterior of the place, you would never have guessed what flashy opulence covered every square inch of the place. Everything was gleaming, and yet there was still a smoky haze around everything.
We're in. I'm activating the gem camera now.
Roger that. It's coming in clearly. Interesting. Head over to the blackjack table. The one in the far right. Something about that brunette standing behind the blonde guy at the table is giving me pause.
What about her seems off?
Those golden armbands she's wearing look familiar. They look ancient.
Kieran led the girls on his arm over to the table. The brunette looked them up and down as they approached. She wore a dress that looked a lot like Joanna's, but hers was black as the night. Her lips were painted a deep violet, matching her nails and her smoky eye makeup. Her dulce de leche skin was flawless and smooth. Her hand rested on the blonde man's shoulder. She smirked mischievously, revealing perfect teeth and a deadly confidence. Scarlett tried to reach her mind, but found it was blank. Kieran sat down next to the blonde man, but the girls hovered just behind him. Scarlett kept looking at the woman in black, but Joanna continued to scan the crowd.
Dealer, deal me in.
Certainly, sir.
I see you've got 2 good luck charms tonight, and they both look lovely.
You should see the dame I didn't bring. Your good luck charm looks mighty swell.
Don't she ever? She's extra wonderful. Say, doll, would you mind getting me a refill? And one for my friend here, too.
No liquor for me. I'm watching my figure.
Doesn't seem to be working for you, does it?
Liza, don't be rude. Bring us 2 Roy Rogers.
Of course.
Liza walked away. For a second, Scarlett didn't follow, but then she chose to.
Your gal's got a bit of a bite.
Sorry about that. She has a hard time playing with others.
Say, fella, you got a name?
Alan Grace. You?
Kyrian. Cross.
Much obliged.
Likewise.
Place your bets, gentlemen.
Of course. 14. Hit me.
Hit. Damn. Rotten luck.
Men can be such pigs, can't they?
More bravado than they deserve to have. I'm Liza.
Scarlett.
Pleasure to meet you. Can I give you a little tip, Scarlett?
Certainly.
When their mind is blank, that means they know you're poking around, and they don't exactly want you poking around in there.
Excuse me?
Stop trying to read my mind. Oh, and tell Dean he should get in here. It's about to get, difficult.
How did you...
Hey, Dino, you might want to come in here. You've got 30 seconds. They'll need your muscle.
What the hell? I'm on my way in.
Scarlett looked bewildered. She watched as Liza walked back to the table. As soon as Liza set the drink down...
Everyone on the ground! This is a robbery!
The crowd screamed and hit the deck, including Scarlett and Joe. 4 figures wearing green hooded cloaks entered the gambling den. The tallest figure held a bow staff, and the one next to him held a handgun. The other 2 held bags.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Quake. These are my associates, Dune, Gollum, and Vine. Listen here, you rich fucks. If you comply, you will stay alive. We want cash, cards, and jewelry. Give it to us, and you'll live. If you don't, you will not survive this.
Come on, do as the man says now. Load up the bags, don't be shy.
Scarlett grabbed her spell bag from her garter belt. She pulled out 3 red butterflies. The birds took flight, managing to stay unseen from the 4 thieves. Joanna saw this and nodded. She covered her face to obscure the glow from her eyes. Police were notified. Scarlett dropped a small purse of red and black stars into the thieves' bag.
Gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind, I'm in the middle of a game, and I'd appreciate it if you could stand down.
Dude, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, how about no? Did you hear me? Do you see Dune's gun?
Oh, I see your little toy there. It's adorable, truly.
Oh, my gun is adorable to you. Wow. It's more than what you're packing.
Boy, I'm from the South. Mine is way bigger than yours, and I'm far more skilled with it.
Listen to my brother, punk, or he'll shoot.
Try it, boy, please. I dare you.
Well, since you asked so nicely.
Kieran closed his eyes, expecting to hear the sound of a bullet connecting with a body. Kieran opened his eyes and saw that Liza was in front of Alan. The bracelet she was wearing had deflected 2 of the bullets. One of them had shot directly back into the gun barrel, knocking it out of his hand.
Not today, boys.
Vine, restrain them.
What? How? Quake? Honestly, Vine? Really? Come on, you know how. You know what? Here, let me give you the advantage.
The tall one, called Quake, hit the ground with a bow staff and the entire room shook, destabilizing Liza and Alan. Thick green vines grew out of the ground and wrapped around Liza, but Alan dodged behind the table. Liza struggled against the constricting vines, not noticing the paper butterfly landing at the base of the vine and the one fluttering in the face of the one called Vine.
Toin shell.
Fire erupted where the birds landed. The vines went up in smoke, and Liza broke free, making a mad dash for the four men.
Nuh-uh. Not so fast, girlie. I suggest you take a seat.
Quake stomped, causing Liza to fumble into a roll before kneeling a few feet before Quake himself.
Gollum, bring forth your minions.
You got it, brother. Rise, my golems!
Gollum put his hand to the ground. Before him sprouted a clay figure about 7 feet tall. As soon as it sprouted, it ran toward Liza. It was looking like either Quake was going to swing the staff down and hit Liza, or create an earthquake big enough to bring her down, or the weird clay figure would rip her into pieces. An arrow flew through the air and pierced Quake in the hand. One more arrow flew and shattered the clay golem's head right off. It came from a black bow that was being held by Alan. Kieran stared wide-eyed at Alan.
Not today, buddy. Leave my girl alone.
What the actual Where'd you get that bow?
Kieran, honestly, it ain't the time or the place. Ain't you got some magic for us now?
How did you...
Kieran!
Oh, okay, let's see, Dormi.
Kieran's eyes glowed. The four boys all dropped to the ground, snoring pleasantly. At that moment, Dean came rushing in through the front door.
Freeze! Police! Oh. Oh, right. Okay. Well, don't just stand there, guys. Bring them to the van.
Not so fast.
Oh God, not again.
Time froze to a halt around her. Reese the Collector appeared. He approached where Scarlet was on the ground.
Well, Scarlet, it's lovely to see you again.
How are you even alive? I watched you die years ago.
I have my secrets, darling. All will be revealed soon. Now, if you don't mind, I have to collect my prize.
Why can't I move? Where did you get these powers?
Oh, this? This is called potentikinesis. I can extract specific strains of magical power from people whose gifts have been activated. I guess dying counts as a traumatic event. I've had this for years, and so I collect abilities. Most of them I don't take into myself, too risky. But this little time manipulation bit, well, that was a special gift from a dear friend. Now, if you'll excuse me...
You can't, Reese. You almost killed those girls.
But they're alive and awake, aren't they? You can do healing magic, can't you? I never take enough power to kill them. No, out of you and me, only one of us will wind up being a killer, and it isn't me.
What are you talking about?
My, oh my. You are pretty clueless for a fortune teller, aren't you, lass? In any case, I have a buyer for these powers. He will be so pleased.
Reese casually walked up to the boys. He touched their foreheads, and their powers flowed from the spot he touched into 4 small vials. It took mere moments, and as soon as Reese was satisfied, he winked at Scarlet and vanished. When time restarted, Dean was running to pick up the boys.
We need to get these boys out of here before my bosses get here. Let's move.
Here, let me help.
Oh, no, you stay right here. We need to talk about why you know who I am.
Oh, I think not, Dean. You'll get all the information tomorrow. For now, we need to get them out of here.
All will be revealed tomorrow, bud. We will see you again very soon. Here, I'll carry this golem guy. Dean, you get Dune and Quake. Liza, you can carry Vine out.
Roger that. Oh, and, Dean, we'll see you tomorrow. Get ready.
Alan and Liza dashed towards the van. By the time Dean and the rest of the team caught up with them, The 2 mystery fighters were gone.
Who the hell were they?
I don't know.
Kieran, we need to get these boys somewhere where we can heal them. But we can't put them in custody.
I know. I healed Ember. But that took so much work, I couldn't possibly do it tonight. We'll have to bring them to the estate. They'll be fine until after the trial tomorrow.
Maybe we can get Faith's assistance in healing them tomorrow night. Can the Guardians compel her to assist?
She's testifying against Jordan tomorrow, and she despises Red Wing. Why would she help us?
Because if she truly cares about the people of her city, she wouldn't want children to be lying in a coma. Leave it to me. I'll try to convince her, woman to woman. And if reasoning doesn't work, maybe I can threaten to leak her emails or something. We'll get it done.
Well, that's good on that. Dean, can you drop me off at my house? I have a trip I need to make.
You got it, Scarlet. Where to?
I'm not sure yet. I should be back in a few days. I need to find a witch who can explain something to me.
Do you want me to go with you?
No, stay here. For Jordan, he's going to need you. Kieran, have you heard from Jeremy and Marilyn?
They got in a half hour ago. They weren't spotted by anyone. They arrived at the estate and they will be ready for tomorrow.
I'll work with Jeremy on the preparation. God willing, this works.
It has to. It's our only hope.
I was sitting on the right side of the courtroom, next to Willa Savage, New Ark City's premier defense attorney. Willa was a 5'10" Amazonian, with blonde, curly hair that went down just past her shoulders. Willa was wearing nude fishnets, Alexander McQueen pumps in electric blue with skull details, a black pencil skirt and blazer, with a silk blouse and classic rag and bones dagger scarf. Her makeup was minimal. Her whole appearance gave off the fashionable impression that she was a fearsome tigress defending her cubs. I was pleased that they let me wear a dress shirt and slacks instead of my prison jumpsuit, but they still had me handcuffed. There were 6 jurors, and Willa told me she felt confident they could do their jobs without too much bias. I looked behind me. Dean sat there in his officer's uniform. He smiled at me, and it made me feel a little more confident. Next to him sat Joanna and Marilyn. Kieran was with the boys from the night before, which Jared had told me about earlier. Jared wasn't there either. He was working. But he had stopped by the jailhouse earlier that day to wish me good luck, and give me a confident hug while the guard wasn't looking. Out of his 2 kids, I honestly don't think he'd ever thought for a second either of us would be on trial for what amounted to collusion with a killer.
All rise. Honorable Judge Redmayne presiding.
Thank you. Please be seated. Alrighty. We have here today the state versus Jordan Redfield Wade. The charges being brought against the defendant are as follows: conspiracy to commit homicide, criminally negligent homicide, incitement of homicide. We will now hear opening arguments from the state and the defense. Assistant District Attorney Rebecca Pelly is representing the state. Counselor, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, 3 weeks ago, 3 members of the community lost their lives. They lost their lives on the property of Jordan Redfield Wade. They lost their lives because Jordan invited them there to hear a speech. He invited those people to a party when he knew there would be an altercation that resulted in loss of life. He didn't warn those victims. He didn't care about their families and their friends and the fact they would have to be buried. He didn't care about the daughters who were in a coma, who awoke the next day to find their fathers had been murdered. Today you will hear testimony from people who were there that night. You will hear from the defendant himself. The defendant is a smart man, so don't let him fool you into thinking he was ignorant of the circumstances. The testimony you hear today will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he conspired to commit homicide by showing 3 things. 1, that he spoke with Red Wing and planned the event. 2, that he knew the party would attract an angry third party, effectively using them as bait. And 3, that he failed to intervene once the inevitable violence started. I ask that you listen carefully and keep justice at the front of your mind, and decide the kind of world we live in. The kind of world where justice prevails and people are held responsible. Or the world where a masked criminal makes demands of politicians and people wind up dead. After hearing the testimony, I will ask you to find the defendant guilty on all charges. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Savage, please make your opening arguments.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, if everything the government just told you was true, we wouldn't be having a trial, would we? Let's talk about why we're really here today. We're here not because of crime, but because of ambition. Ambition on the part of Faith Flaherty, ambition on the part of ADA Rebecca Pellet. These are 2 women that know what they want, power, and will do virtually anything to get it, including the prosecution of an innocent man. Here's what you're going to hear actually happened. Faith and my client Jordan have a long history of conflict. Faith hates Jordan. She thinks the world has handed him things while she had to work for them. She spent years pulling herself up by her bootstraps, only to be taunted by people like Jordan, whose money and influence seems to trump her effort. So when she learns that Jordan is going to challenge her for the mayor's seat, she's frustrated. She's angry. She's threatening. She is the one that has put in the time. She is the interim mayor. She studied political science and shook hands and kissed babies and did everything right. The mayor's seat should be hers, or at least that's what she'll tell you. Now just imagine what Faith must have been thinking 3 weeks ago. Her mayoral bid should have been in the bag, but this rich, spoiled, arrogant, privileged man announces his intention to run at the last possible minute. He all but told her he didn't even care if he won or not. Imagine how insulting that must have been, to hear someone be so casual about this thing that you had worked for all these years. On top of that, Jordan throws a soiree to announce his candidacy. All of the planning and fundraising that Faith had to do for her announcement, and Jordan could easily just throw an event on the fly. Didn't have to worry about raising money for that. Faith would never have that kind of access to funds. Never. So when the event ended in the tragic deaths of 3 people, Faith saw an opportunity. After all, Faith is not without her supporters, especially in the prosecutor's office. Enter Rebecca Pellet. Attorney Pellet understands that a conviction in this case virtually guarantees Faith a victory in the mayoral race. We can all probably agree that this would be a victory that Faith would be particularly grateful for and would likely reward the loyalty Attorney Pellet has shown by bringing this ridiculous prosecution. Why do I say it's ridiculous? That's simple. Jordan committed no crimes. He did not kill anyone. He did not incite anyone to kill anyone. He didn't encourage anyone to kill anyone. Jordan threw a party. A party where many prominent people were invited. And, as any well-connected person knows, wealthy people often have secrets and conflicts that the rest of us cannot imagine. Such was the case here with poor Elizabeth. Jordan had heard rumors that there was bad blood between Elizabeth, her parents, and Mr. Shea, but he didn't know exactly what that was about when he planned his party. Did he suspect there might be some fireworks? Sure, but the kind of fireworks that are good for campaign publicity. You know, name recognition on Election Day. Self-promotion is not a crime. Organizing a party is not a crime. Organizing a party where people are killed is a traumatic and terrible experience. One that Jordan did not want, does not wish to repeat, and certainly made no effort to create. You'll hear that while Jordan is perhaps the kind of guy who likes to ruffle feathers, that's a far cry from conspiring to commit homicide. Other than being the person who put the event together, Jordan has no role in the tragic killings of these 3 people. None. The prosecution will not be able to show you otherwise because no evidence supporting their claims exists. When you finish listening to the evidence, I will ask you to find my client not guilty. Don't let politics and ambition influence your vote. Let the truth guide your vote.
Willa sat down, and then it came time to call the first witness. Faith wore a smile as she approached the stand in her trademark blazer with its usual shade of bubblegum pink.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name is Faith Flaherty, Fayth, Flaherty.
May I call you Faith?
Yes, that's just fine.
Where do you live?
In Newark City.
How long have you lived in Newark City?
All my life, even the time I was getting my degree. I always knew that I wanted to stay in my hometown. I believe in working to better the place from which I came.
Faith, what do you do for a living?
I am the interim mayor of Newark City.
Can you tell the jury a bit about the training and experience you have to allow you to hold that position?
Yes. I have a degree in political science, and after finishing college, I took a position working in local government, specifically the city council. After roughly 10 years, I ultimately decided to run for the seat of council chair, and I was elected. I held that position for 4 years until I was appointed interim mayor.
Are you currently running for election?
Yes, I am.
Does that affect your testimony here today at all?
Only to the extent that it is of the utmost importance to me that I tell the truth. I owe that to my constituents. They deserve honesty from their representatives.
Do you know a man named Jordan Redfield Wade?
Yes, I do.
How?
Among other things, he's my opponent in the upcoming mayoral election.
Let's talk about that. When did you first learn that Jordan would be running for mayor?
Approximately 3 weeks ago.
How did you come to learn this?
He told me.
Objection, hearsay, move to strike.
Statement by party opponent.
Overruled. The answer stands.
Did you happen to record the conversation between you and Jordan in which he tells you he's running?
Yes, I did.
Would you recognize the recording if I played it for you?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, I'd like this flash drive to be marked as Exhibit 1.
Madam Clerk, will you mark the exhibit? Thank you.
Prior to your testimony today, did you have the opportunity to review the contents of this flash drive?
Yes, it appears to be the same flash drive.
Is the recording a true and accurate representation of the conversation between you and Jordan?
Yes.
Permission to publish to the jury?
Objection, this recording is hearsay.
Judge, this was subject to a pretrial ruling.
Overruled. Counsel, you may publish.
Do you recognize the voices on this recording?
Yes.
Who are they?
The female voice is mine. The male voice is Jordan's. May I add also, I apologize to the jury for the foul language I used during the recording.
Did Jordan know you were recording this conversation?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
May I continue playing the recording?
Yes, you may.
Okay, that's enough of that. Thank you. Now, Faith, I'd like to ask you some questions about the contents of that recording. Is that all right?
Yes, of course, absolutely.
I can't help but notice the tension between you and Jordan in this recording. How was your relationship with Jordan at that time?
I was angry at him.
Does that anger influence your testimony at all today?
No, not at all. I'm just here to tell you what happened.
I'd like to turn your attention to the latter part of the recording. Did there come a point where Jordan revealed his true intentions about running for mayor to you?
Yes. As you heard, he told me that he only entered the race to get Marrow, Red Wing, and the deceased all in one place.
Did he tell you why he wanted to do that?
Yes, he said that Red Wing had asked him to do it, that it was a setup.
Objection.
Yeah.
Judge, we're now into 2 layers of hearsay. Come on.
I'm inclined to agree.
Not offered for the truth of the matter, Judge. Offered for a defendant's state of mind.
Okay. Overruled. The answer will stand.
Are you familiar with Red Wing?
Yes, I am.
Are you familiar with Marrow?
I am now. Marrow is the name that Elizabeth Brennan used when the attack occurred.
Based on your position in this community, have you had the opportunity to come to know if Marrow has a character for violence?
I would say yes, but I don't blame Elizabeth for the actions of the Marrow. Elizabeth is a victim, but that Marrow character was a violent psychopath. I think with the therapy she's receiving, she won't reoffend.
Thank you, Faith.
Objection. Elizabeth Brennan is not on trial here, nor is she even here today.
Sustained. The jury will disregard. Counselor Pelly, rein it in.
Based on what Jordan told you about this setup, did you have any concerns for people's safety?
Yes, I did.
No further questions.
Rebecca gave Willa a little smug head nod, with a face that said, "Bring your A-game, homegirl." Willa rolled her eyes at Rebecca's challenge and gave a face back that simply said 4 words, "Girl, you are weak." She stood up and walked forward with the confidence of a tiger, walking towards its wounded prey. I knew Faith was going to feel this.
Miss Mayor, I want to start by clearing up a few things from your testimony on direct, okay?
I don't think I was unclear about anything.
If I want an opinion from you, I'll ask for it. Unless I do, stick to answering the questions I ask you rather than editorializing. Now, let's start at the beginning. You recorded the conversation between yourself and Jordan.
Yes.
You recorded the conversation because you wanted to have a record of it.
Yes.
You wanted to have a record of it because you didn't trust Jordan to represent the conversation honestly if he was asked about it later, didn't you?
That's right.
You didn't trust him because the two of you have a long history of bad blood, isn't that right?
I wouldn't say bad blood.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's start with the very first thing you say to Jordan in this recording. You say, and I'm quoting, "What the fuck is your problem?" Don't you?
Yes, I said that.
Do you always use such coarse language when speaking to people, or was this crass tone specific to Jordan?
I don't know how to answer that.
So this is going to go a lot more smoothly if you quit playing games. We both have roles here. My role is to ask you the questions, and your role is to answer the questions. You have to answer the questions that I ask, not the questions that you wish I asked. I mention this because I don't want us to have any continual misunderstandings as we move forward. Do you understand how this is going to go?
Yes.
Good. So, yes or no, is that the type of language you typically use with another person?
No, I suppose it isn't.
We won't find footage of you giving speeches on the campaign trail that start with, "What the fuck is your problem?"
No, you will not.
Thank you. This crass language, that was intentional on your part.
I suppose.
You meant what you said, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you said it crassly.
I used an expletive, yes.
Because you were angry with Jordan?
Yes.
In fact, you've been angry with Jordan for quite some time, haven't you?
We do not get along.
You were angry at Jordan long before he announced his candidacy for mayor, though, weren't you?
He was opposing me in an election that he had no real intention of winning. It was going to cost me a lot by way of campaign resources. Of course I was angry.
In fact, you've been angry with Jordan for quite some time, isn't that right?
As I said, we do not get along.
Let's talk about that. You had a lot of reasons to be angry with Jordan, didn't you?
I wouldn't say angry, no.
You were angry at Jordan long before he announced his candidacy, though, weren't you?
Yes.
Okay, well, you don't, quote-unquote, get along because Jordan tried to help you years ago, and that made you angry.
He did.
All right. Let's back up a minute. You've known Jordan since your childhood, haven't you?
Very different.
Jordan had a privileged upbringing, did he not?
Resent isn't the right word. I do think that I've earned a lot more than he has, though.
That's very different than your upbringing, isn't it?
Yes.
You resent that, don't you? That Jordan was given everything while you had to work for it?
Yes.
I'd like to direct your attention to another part of the recording. You say to him, and tell me if I'm reading this incorrectly, quote, "I didn't have literal geniuses for parents. I had to earn each and every grade I got. I paid for college myself by working as an assistant in a law firm every holiday break. I shook every hand. I made every connection. I did everything I was supposed to do to become the youngest mayor in our state's history. And what about you? What did you do to deserve your wealth and status? The answer is, of course, nothing. All of this belongs to your dead parents." End quote. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Let's break that down. You had to pay your way through life, whereas Jordan was born to a wealthy family.
Yes.
You had to work while he got to party.
Yes.
You devoted your life to public service when he did nothing to help others in your view.
Yes.
And all the time that he spent gallivanting around town spending money, you were working. Isn't that true?
Yes, it is.
You have plans for your life. You're an ambitious woman.
Yes.
You want to see those plans through, don't you?
Yes.
That's why you're running for mayor.
That's one of many reasons.
Jordan, on the other hand, you'd agree he had no such work ethic and no such ambition.
Yes, I agree with that.
At the time this conversation took place, you'd been interim mayor for 6 months, right?
Yes.
You'd been doing a good job, hadn't you?
I thought so, yes.
Working to the best of your ability.
Yes.
It must have angered you then that Jordan would have the audacity to announce that he was running against you when he didn't even take it seriously.
I guess it did.
Especially because he has no history of public service like you do, right?
He does not. That is true.
And when he told you it was all a setup, that made you even more angry, didn't it? Because it denigrated a position you worked so hard to get.
Absolutely. I'm running for the right reasons, and he was turning it into a joke. Our city deserves better than that.
Our city deserves better than that?
Yes.
Doesn't our city also deserve better than a mayor who uses crass language to disparage political opponents?
That was in a private conversation.
Oh, a private conversation you recorded. That kind of private.
Yes.
And then a private conversation that you recorded and turned over to the police department.
Yes.
And you did that because you believed it contained information that would harm your opponent.
That's not why I gave it to the police.
But it did, didn't it? Contain information that could harm him?
I'm not responsible for Jordan's words.
Well, I want to talk about if you're responsible for yours. In this recording, you tell Jordan, and I'm quoting, quote, drop out of the race, unquote.
I said that.
You tell him, and again I'm quoting, quote, pull out of the election, unquote.
Yes.
In this recording, you also accuse Jordan of not actually helping anyone, but only throwing money around.
Yes.
You also blame Jordan for the fact that 2 young women are in comas right now, don't you?
Objection. Relevance.
It goes to bias, Your Honor.
Overruled. I'll allow it.
Answer my question.
Yes, I do.
In this recording, towards the beginning, we hear a thud. That sound was caused by you pushing Jordan into a bookshelf, isn't that right?
He invaded my space, and I pushed him away.
So that was a yes, the thud was caused by you pushing Jordan into a bookshelf?
Yes, I did that, but only because he was in my...
Thank you, you've answered my question. Again, I don't need your editorializing. You'd agree with me, wouldn't you, that committing an act of physical violence is unbecoming of an elected official?
I didn't commit an act of physical violence.
I'm going to ask that you not perjure yourself on the witness stand. You are under oath. Move to strike, non-responsive. Ask that the court instruct the witness to answer the question asked of her.
Granted. Members of the jury disregard the witness's last answer. Miss Flaherty, you are to answer the questions asked.
Thank you, Your Honor. Miss Mayer, do you need the last question repeated?
Yes.
You'd agree with me, wouldn't you, that committing an act of physical violence is unbecoming of an elected official?
Not if it is necessary to protect oneself or the public.
Well, this conversation took place in private. Didn't you just tell us that?
Yes.
And we don't hear anything on the recording that sounds like a struggle, do we?
No.
We don't hear you screaming for help because Jordan is putting his hands on you.
No.
We don't hear you say, step back, you're in my space.
No, I didn't say that.
We do, however, hear a thud from your pushing him into the bookshelf.
Yes.
Now, I want to talk about the so-called setup. When Jordan told you about it, you didn't respond by asking, wait, what setup? Why? Did you?
You heard my response on the tape.
Move to strike, non-responsive. Ask the court instruct the witness to answer the question.
Granted. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer. Miss Flaherty, I'm not going to tell you again. Answer the questions that are asked of you.
I was.
Well, I guess we're going to have to go back to this transcript again, then. Tell me if I'm reading it correctly. After Jordan describes Red Wing's alleged setup, you respond by saying, and I quote, "And what? Added bonus, you managed to piss me off?" End quote. You said that, right?
Yes.
So your immediate reaction was not of concern for public safety. It was about you, wasn't it?
I was worried about a lot of things when I heard that.
One of those lots of things was yourself, though, wasn't it?
Yes, but as I said, it wasn't the only...
Thank you. You've answered my question. Now, after you hear about this alleged setup that has you worried about a lot of things, I assume you run right out and call the police to tell them some dangerous thing is going to happen, right?
I did not.
Interesting. You'd agree with me, wouldn't you, that one of the primary job duties of a mayor is to protect your city's citizens?
Yes.
It logically follows, then, does it not, that if you suspected this setup would end in violence, you would have done something to stop it?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
Sustained. Counsel, move on.
This conversation between you and Jordan, it ends with you saying, "This is not over." Does it not?
It does.
You stated that quite emphatically, as we heard.
Yes, I did.
Assuming Jordan is convicted, you'll be unopposed in the mayoral race, won't you?
Yes, I will.
That would virtually guarantee your election?
You'd have to ask the pollsters that.
I'm asking you. It virtually guarantees your election, right?
I guess.
The election that you've spent decades of your life preparing for with your poli-sci degree and your work on the council?
I have devoted my life to public service, yes.
And you wouldn't want anyone to take that away from you, would you?
Of course not. No more than you'd want someone to take away your bar card. That doesn't make me...
Again, you've answered my question. I do not need your extra commentary. Bottom line, if Jordan's convicted, you get to be mayor, which is exactly what you want, isn't it?
Objection. Compound question.
I'll withdraw the question, Judge.
The question is withdrawn. Jury, you should disregard that question.
One more thing. While you and Jordan were having this conversation, you told him that all his wealth and influence belonged to his dead parents, didn't you?
It's true, it does.
So that's a yes, I said that.
Yes.
How very mayoral of you. No further questions.
I caught Faith's eye and gave her a momentary sneer. She narrowed her eyes at me. Her smile was gone as she left the stand. That probably hurt her campaign. I knew I'd hired the best possible attorney. Willa looked at me and gave me a nod. She gave Dean a little wink. I knew what time it was. It was time for my testimony.
Can you introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, I'm Jordan Redfield Wade. I'm the defendant of this case.
Where do you live, Jordan?
I live in Newark City. I've been here basically my entire life. This city was really important to my parents, and I've tried my best to carry that legacy on by remaining active in the community.
Can I infer from your answer that your parents are no longer with us?
That's correct. My parents are both deceased.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It never really gets any easier, even as time passes. I do what I can with my work to honor their memory.
Indeed. You mentioned your parents were philanthropic.
Oh, very much so. They were very involved with this community. I benefited from their generosity, so I've tried to follow their lead.
As part of that tradition, have you considered running for office?
Yes. That is something they never actually did, surprisingly. I am currently running for mayor of Newark City. Part of my decision to do that rests with my parents' legacy. But I have a number of other reasons for wanting to run as well.
Briefly tell the jury what those are.
Objection. This is a criminal trial, not a campaign event. This defendant shouldn't be allowed to use the witness stand as a podium.
It goes to my client's state of mind at the time of the alleged events, Your Honor.
I'm going to need to hear some additional foundation on that, counsel. Objection sustained.
I'll come back to it.
Very well.
Jordan, I want to turn your attention to about 3 weeks ago. Do you recall what was going on in your life at that time?
Yes. I was contemplating running for mayor of Newark City.
Why was that on your mind?
I had some concerns about the interim mayor, Faith Flaherty.
When you say concerns, what do you mean?
In all honesty, I do not think she's the best fit for the full job. Sure, she has done some real good things for the city, but I don't believe she has the resources or the connections to do the job long term in a way that will truly be beneficial to the people.
Other than your political disagreements, was there anything else that motivated you to decide to run?
Yes, there was.
What were those things?
Well, first off, like I said before, my parents have a history of serving this city, and I take that legacy seriously. Secondly, I know Miss Flaherty on a personal level, and I have concerns about her ability to hold elected office based on those concerns. Thirdly, as I stated at the event where I announced my candidacy, I do not believe Miss Flaherty has the resources or connections to necessarily effectively govern the city. Fourth, and finally, I had multiple conversations with concerned community members who encouraged me to run and hold the candidacy announcement at the date and time that I did.
There's a lot to unpack there. Let's take it reason by reason. You mentioned that you know the mayor on a personal level?
Yes, we've known each other since we were very young. We're both members of the founding family council, and we're close in age, and we went to school together.
Do you like her?
It's not a matter of liking her or not liking her. It's a matter of trusting her. I do not trust her.
Why not?
Objection. Relevance.
It goes to bias, Judge. I've no doubt the prosecutor is going to ask my client about his dislike of the mayor. I should be entitled to explore the same issue on direct.
Overruled.
Let me repeat the question. Why don't you trust her?
We have a history. Long story short, I tried to help her out years ago. I gave her the benefit of the doubt in a situation where I probably shouldn't have. She repaid that kindness by becoming openly hostile towards me.
Now, Jordan, you'd have to agree that you've been kind of hostile to her at times too, wouldn't you?
I agree with that assessment, yes.
But the decision that you made to run for mayor, that wasn't just about your relationship with the mayor, as you've said.
Correct.
You mentioned that members of the community had encouraged you to run as well?
Yes.
Anyone in particular?
Yes. Red Wing.
Did you and Red Wing discuss when the most opportune time to announce your candidacy would be?
Yes.
Objection. Answer calls for hearsay.
The answer may stand. The witness can answer the question about if discussions had happened. The contents of those discussions are another story.
Based on your conversations about the timing of your announcement with Red Wing, did you take any steps to plan your announcement? I ask without asking you to tell me anything Red Wing may have said to you.
Yes, I did. I decided that I would announce at the Founding Family Council soiree.
Was there any particular reason for that?
Yes, there was. It was a highly publicized event, and I could count on certain press people picking it up. I also knew that Miss Flaherty was planning on attending the event. I assumed, without knowing for sure, that a number of prominent people would attend the soiree.
And among those prominent people, were you planning on Elizabeth Brennan attending?
No. Actually, I didn't assume she would attend.
Why?
I didn't assume she would attend because at the time, she'd been missing for about 6 months.
Did you plan your candidacy announcement knowing that Elizabeth Brennan intended to murder 3 people at the event?
No, I did not. I had no idea what Elizabeth Brennan was planning. She and I did not communicate at all about this event.
Did you and Red Wing ever talk about the possibility that murders might occur at this event?
Objection. Calls for hearsay.
Sustained.
Do you know the 3 people that were killed the night of the soiree?
I know of them, yes. It was Elizabeth's parents and William O'Hay.
Was Elizabeth's relationship with her parents a good one?
I don't have any personal knowledge about that.
Fair enough. Did you conspire with Red Wing to facilitate the murder of the Brennans and Mr. O'Hay?
No, I did not.
Did you conspire with Elizabeth Brennan to facilitate her committing multiple homicides?
No, I did not.
If you had known that such disastrous events would occur that night, would you have planned the event the way that you did?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Jordan, as you sit here today, did you, at any point, take an active role in planning or conspiring to facilitate the homicides of the Brennans and Mr. O'Hay with any person at all?
I did not.
No further questions.
Willa took her seat and gave me a nod. I watched her turn and wink at Dean again, who stood up and walked out of the courtroom, and I knew exactly where he was going. He was going to bring in our ace in the hole.
Well, that was a very engaging performance, Jordan. But it seems you've left a few things out. I'd like to go back to the beginning of things, before you announced your candidacy. You have decided to announce, right?
Yes.
After you decided to announce, you shared that information with Red Wing?
Yeah.
You shared that information with Red Wing because he was a confidant?
I would call him a close friend and occasional colleague, but I suppose a confidant would suffice.
Red Wing had suggestions on how and when you should announce, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
You followed those suggestions?
I did.
You followed those suggestions without asking why?
Yeah, I did.
That's not like you, is it? You're usually a very careful planner.
That's making a lot of assumptions, darling, considering you don't know me. So, considering I don't know what evidence you're basing that assessment on, I don't know that I'd agree with you on that.
Fine. Moving on. After you decided to announce at the soiree, you tipped the press off, didn't you?
Is it a crime to notify the press of newsworthy events?
Please answer my question. You notified the press, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I wanted as much publicity surrounding the announcement as possible. Free media and all that.
Uh-huh. Because you were such a committed candidate?
Among other reasons.
You were such a committed candidate that the very next day, you told your opponent that you hadn't even been planning on running?
I said that to piss Faith off.
So you were lying to her when you said that, and I'm quoting, "It was a setup. It was a setup for Red Wing. I wasn't even going to file the paperwork, and thus not actually ever be on the ballot." You said that, didn't you?
If that's what the transcript said, yeah, I said it.
You agree that this sounds like a less than committed candidate, don't you?
I do not agree with that. I agree that I said that, in part, to anger Miss Flaherty.
You also told Miss Flaherty, in the same moment, that Red Wing had been hoping the creature called Marrow would show up?
Yeah, if that's what the transcript shows.
Marrow is another name for Elizabeth Brennan, is it not?
It is.
And it's your testimony that while you knew Red Wing wanted them all in the same place, you had no idea why?
That's right.
You're such a smart guy, Jordan. IQ of 125, I think you said?
Yeah, I do all right.
And despite that, you're telling me that it never occurred to a man of your intellect and connections to inquire as to Red Wing's motivation for having these people all in one place? You expect this jury to be that naive?
Madam, I expect this jury to listen to what I've said, both in my recordings today and today on the witness stand. I expect them to conclude that I'm telling the truth because I took an oath to do so. And I've lived my whole life attempting to protect this city and the citizens that reside here. Of course, I wanted as many people as possible there. Who announces their candidacy quietly?
You don't like Faith Flaherty personally, am I right?
I testified to that, yes.
You want to see her lose this election?
Yeah, I wouldn't be running if I didn't want to win.
But you acknowledge that there's bad blood between the two of you.
I do acknowledge that, but as I testified on direct, that was only one factor in my decision to run.
You're seriously trying to tell this jury that your hatred of Faith Flaherty was not a motivating factor for you?
I'm saying it was only one motivating factor, just like you probably. I assume that you both want to win this trial because you think I'm guilty, and also because it will look good for your career, maybe even earn you a promotion. Just because you're thinking about both doesn't mean you're being unethical in prosecuting me. Unless, of course, you know this whole case is bullshit, in which case maybe it's your ambition driving you rather than a sense of justice. But you'd have to confess to that, wouldn't you? Feel free to tell me if I'm right or not. Tell me how close I am to accurate.
Moving on. You argued with Faith at length the day after you announced, didn't you?
I wouldn't call it an argument. I'd call it a discussion.
Among the things you said in this discussion, you insulted her husband, did you not?
I can't speak to how her husband may have felt about my comments. I do wonder why she'd share them with him.
You threatened Faith, didn't you?
I did not. Please show me the part of the transcript you're interpreting as a threat.
Bring it on, Faith. Bring it on. It's your testimony that this wasn't a threat?
That wasn't a threat at all. Unless you consider threatening to beat someone in an election to be a threat for legal purposes. In which case, yeah, I suppose I did threaten to beat her in the election.
You'd agree with me that the transcript speaks for itself, would you not?
Sure.
No further questions.
Counsel, do you have any other witnesses you'd like to call?
Why, yes, Judge. In fact, we do.
Objection, Your Honor. I haven't had time to prepare for this witness.
Oh, no, dear, you definitely did. The person was directly involved in the case and has been listed as a witness since the beginning. You had plenty of time.
Counsel, name your witness, please.
Your Honor, I call the vigilante Red Wing to the stand.
How? He's not even here.
Oh no, I'm here.
In that moment, everyone turned around. Red Wing was in the doorway, with Dean standing just behind him. I smiled. It was very convenient to have a twin brother who was trained as a spy. Murmurs went up through the audience. Rebecca blanched. I think that was the moment she knew she might lose her case. Jeremy, wearing my suit, approached the witness stand.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do indeed.
Please be seated.
State your name and spell it for the record, please.
Red Wing. Redwing.
Thank you. I'm assuming that's not the name that was given on your birth certificate.
The name on my birth certificate is inconsequential to my testimony and role in this case. Suffice it to say that the people I work for know who I am and know how to find me. And I have taken an oath. But know this, that I will maintain my anonymity.
Do you know a Jordan Redfield Wade?
Yes, I do.
How?
We have collaborated in the past.
Do you recall having a conversation with Jordan roughly 3 weeks ago?
Yes, I do.
What do you recall asking him?
I asked him to announce his mayoral candidacy at the new Ark City Founding Family Soiree.
Why did you do that?
Well, at the time, I was investigating the missing persons case for Elizabeth Brennan, who had last been seen in the general area of the pier. I figured it was possible she could have been connected to the 2 boys who were murdered there the other evening. So, that morning, when Jordan told me he was going to announce his candidacy, I told him he should. I wanted all of the powerful families in the same room at the same time.
Why?
Based on evidence that I located, I suspected there might be bad blood between Elizabeth Brennan and her parents, due to a complaint that was filed shortly before Miss Brennan initially went missing about 7 months ago.
Did you suspect that she would murder her parents and William O'Hay?
I suspected there might be a verbal confrontation because I knew she was angry, but I did not expect there to be any homicides that evening, no.
Did you at any point suggest to Jordan that by having such an event he would be helping to facilitate or incite homicides?
No, I didn't. Quite frankly, it would not have been possible for me to say that because I had no such knowledge.
Did Jordan attempt in any way to get you to conspire with him and Elizabeth Brennan to commit homicide?
No, he did not.
Did you conspire with Elizabeth Brennan to commit any homicides?
No, I did not. Until that part of the tape where I told her to stand down, I had never spoken a word to Miss Brennan.
No further questions.
I'm sorry. Is it your testimony that you just happened to want all of these people in the same room together? And then, once they were, it just happened to be that Elizabeth Brennan killed her parents and William O'Hay?
That's correct, ma'am.
You had no idea what was going to happen.
No, I did not.
But it was important to you that this event happened, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Important because you knew there was a conflict between all of these people, didn't you?
I was aware of that, yes.
So you knew that there were very high emotions running through the invitees?
Yes, I did.
You knew the general content of what caused that emotion, didn't you?
Objection, form of the question.
I'll rephrase. You knew that Elizabeth's parents had committed atrocities against her, didn't you?
I knew there's a complaint filed with the NACPD claiming abuse by William O'Hay. I would like to point out that I did try to stop her, which you have on video record.
Yes, you did. But only after the homicides. Isn't that right?
Sadly, I was too late to stop the homicides, yes. Given that the cause of death was literal magic, that can't surprise you, Counsel.
How do you mean?
I think it is important for the jury to know that I have magical abilities myself. I've had them for many years. My specific ability that would have affected this particular mission is that I cast force fields. But in order to do that effectively, I have to know what kind of danger a victim is facing. And well, given that Miss Brennan used supernatural powers I had honestly never seen before to execute these people, I had no idea how exactly she was going to do it, and thus, I could not stop her.
You had no idea what she was planning, were powerless to stop it, and yet it was you that put this whole series of events in motion, wasn't it? By asking Jordan to declare at the soiree?
I, operating on behalf of the NACPD, which is a government organization, asked him to announce his candidacy and plan an event, madam. I did not, however, invite Marrow or Elizabeth Brennan to kill anyone, and neither did Jordan. I had no knowledge of her power. I was working for the government to solve a crime, and sadly this is where it led. The fault does not lie on anyone in this case. It simply is what it is.
No further questions.
It was over. The jury deliberated for exactly 1 hour.
Foreperson, please read the jury ruling for the court, please.
We, the members of this jury, have found in the case of State versus Jordan Redfield Wade, find the defendant not guilty on all 4 charges. We did not find it to be true beyond the reasonable shadow of a doubt that Mr. Redfield Wade would have had the knowledge and ability to commit the aforementioned crimes.
The jury has spoken. All charges are hereby dropped from this case. To both sides, good work and best of luck.
Oh my god. Thank you, Willa.
Anytime, Jordan. I like a challenge, but even more than that, I believe in justice and I believe in truth. If you or your friends need any help, I'll be here to help.
Trust me, I think, we'll be staying out of the court system. But if we do ever need you, you're definitely the one we'll call.
I shook her hand and immediately ran to hug and kiss Dean. After 3 weeks of not being able to feel his touch, it felt like I was in heaven. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Kit snap a picture of us before sneaking off to write their story about the verdict. I hugged Joanna and Marilyn. Jeremy had left already, but Marilyn handed me a black feather, and I knew exactly what that meant. Something was bothering me, though. I looked back at Faith, who was in the back. As she exited, I got this weird feeling. I told my friends to wait for me, and then I ran after her.
Faith, wait!
What, Jordan? What more could you possibly want?
Oh my god. What is happening?
Jordan? Jordan, are you there? I can't see anything.
I'm right here, Faith. Take my hand and stay close. I think that was a smoke bomb.
Actually, Jordan, it's a smoke arrow.
You're both coming with us. The Raven King would like to see you.
Who the fuck are you people?
Jordan, where are you?
Dean, I'm hit.
Jordan! Freeze. Where are you taking Jordan and Faith?
Alan, Hunter? What the hell are you doing here?
Brooke? What the hell are you doing here?
Damn it, Hunter. We don't have time for this. Give us a flash.
Dean Morgan, you know exactly where to find us. If you want to see your boyfriend and the mayor again, you'd best not keep him waiting. The king wishes to speak with you. Might I suggest taking the train there? It leaves in an hour.
We'll have a car waiting for you when you get off the train. See you soon, bird boy.
Dean, where did they go? Dean, what is happening? Who is the Raven King?
I don't know, but it looks like we've got a train to catch. And I think I know just where we're getting off.
Thank you for listening to Red Wing. Today's episode was written by J.V. Hampton-VanSant and Jessa Nicholson-Getz. This week you heard the voice talents of J.V. Hampton-VanSant, Amanda Jacobson, Skyler Paring, Christine Osimo, Elie Hirshman, Nathan Foster, Lucy Fitzgerald, Jessa Nicholson-Getz, David Ault, Kate Sanchez, Brittany Nicholson, James Oliva, Chad Ellis, Jack Pevyhouse, Jake Del Rio, Andrew Giotta, Nick Ganzner, Kelsey Koldys, Chelsea Cox, and Dylan Mobley. For the complete cast list, please visit redwingpodcast.com. The title this week is based on the song Prisoner by The Pretty Reckless. You will find a link to that song in the show notes. Episode art this week is by J.V. Hampton-VanSant. Our music is composed by Nico of We Talk of Dreams. If you want to listen to any of these themes, please visit our website. Check out our show notes for links to our merch, our social media, and our website. As always, stay safe and fly high, heroes.